Hello and welcome or welcome back. I wanted to give a little extra video this week, just a craft with me, and someone suggested that I do a full craft with me. I don't know if this might be kind of dry and slow for any of you, but I'm going to do it regardless because it's something different. This may be kind of long. I'll edit out some so it won't be quite so long and drawn out, but if you'll remember at the end of last week's things video on the 4th, at the end of that video, I showed you some little bits and pieces and said that those were for a project that I had coming up. Well, today's craft with me will be that project. That's an old brooch that needed some repair work done to it and some bits of chain, and I'm going to turn all of that into a necklace. So let's just jump right in and watch the process. Here's the layout in general. This is the brooch, and I started making some of the repairs on it. I'll go into detail about that in the main part of the video, but it has to do with this little section right here. And then here is some, these are bits from a stretch bracelet from Aimee at Ultrasound Wanderer, and those are for the necklace as well. These two are bits from they look like they could be J. Crew, but that's not J. Crew chain. I believe that is Stella and Dot. I'm not sure. And then this is a piece of just worn rope chain that happens to be worn to the perfect color to go with this really thick looking chain right here. So here are the bits I'll be working with, and I'll show you the finished piece, or I'll show you the process and then the finished piece when it's all done. I'll be somewhat limited because I'm going to work here in my light box so that everything will be a lot easier for you to see on video, but that means I'm very limited in space where I can move my hands and everything. So just to let you know, those are the limitations I am working with. So this is the brooch. I debated about replacing these stones. I'm thinking instead that I'm just going to clean them a little bit just because they are the original little vintage stones. They can use some cleaning, and at that I'm debating removing them from their settings and cleaning them and then putting them back in their settings. But I don't know, I don't want the stones to get scratched in the process, so I may just wipe them down like they are. And they're these pretty little garnet colored stones, and I think they're glass. Let's check that out. Yes, those are glass stones, and they're this deep garnet red. And what I needed to repair on it, I will be taking, well, I don't know, I might be taking this pin back off. I may be able to leave it on and have this be removable and used as a brooch, but I may have to completely take off this pin part to make it be the center part of that necklace. But what needed to be repaired, and I had already started some of it before I thought, you know, I'll just make this my craft with me video. But it had this really weakened part right here where it's discolored and was it had some rust or something right there. So I removed as much of that as I could, but I knew if I kept going it would damage it. There was actually a gap right here even where some of the metal had worn away. So as far as I had gotten with that is I used a gel type super glue, and this is not a technical like trick or anything. This is something I figured out on my own, and it's to use gel type super glue as a filler. So I filled in, there was a tiny little space right there, and so I just using layers and letting it dry in between, I just filled in that gap and then used a file to file it down so that it would kind of match the surrounding area. And then I'm going to use a really technical tool. I say that tongue in cheek, because here is my technical tool to replace the color on that. It just I tested a little part on the back and it just seems to be exactly the right color. So I'm just going to actually start on the back so that if it's not the right color, I can stop using it before I get to the front. And actually it looks like it's blending in just perfectly. So what's on the back right here is just still some discoloration. I got off all of the rust that was there. It's a pretty good match with the color. I got off all the rust and I just kept going, and it just reached a point where I knew if I kept going any further, I would just wear away all the metal and there would be too much gone for me to even like fill in. So I decided to stop. So I'm just now covering up. Again, I created a lot of layers and built it up and built it up and built it up, and then filed it down when I was happy with how thick the layers were. I filed it down so it would be smooth and kind of match the surrounding metal. That was the only part that really had anything wrong with it on this brooch, was this little section. And actually it wasn't only gapped, but it was gapped, and then this side of the gap was bent this way, this side of the gap was bent that way. So I had to bend it back in place and kind of match up the two ends with each other. And then fill in the space that was left in between. It's not 100% perfect match, but I think it's close enough. I think I may let that sit just a little while and then put some sealant over it, just to protect that from wearing off. But there it is. And then there's some little darker places. This has been cleaned. So everything you see here is not dirt, it's just discoloration from age, which kind of helps really with the gold color of the marker not matching exactly. Because if something's very vintage like this, it's going to have some uneven wear on it in a lot of cases, which helps repair jobs like this kind of blend in better, and they're not really as obvious. But honestly, I really like if it is obvious, just because it kind of prompts questions. And I like to talk about, recycling jewelry, or, if somebody says, oh, that's a unique necklace you're wearing, or I like your bracelet, where did you get it? Then that leads into me being able to talk about what I do. I'm kind of self-taught with all this stuff too, so I just learn as I go. And that's how I ended up actually with the gel super glue trick for filling in that gap. I didn't film that whole part of the repair, but it's not real technical. So really what I've already explained is all there was to it. So I'm just dabbing on some more of this marker ink all around, just so this color will be not only in one place on the whole brooch, where it can be seen around the rest of the brooch as well. And then coloring in some places that are kind of darkened because of tone loss with age and things like that. I like these little delicate sort of cutouts around these smaller stones. The marker kind of brightens up a lot of these places. Okay. I'm happy with that for right now. I might do some more with it later, but it'll do for right now. So later on I will, oops, let's get that back in focus. Later on I'll possibly put some kind of sealant on there just to protect the marker from wearing off. So it's going to be like a lushy plushy design. That's what I had in mind for it. And I can't fit my layout little bead tray. It won't fit in the light box. So I'll just show you sort of the basic design, and then I'll have to go off camera to measure everything because there's measurement markings on that board. But this is not going to be the entire length of the necklace. The entire length of the necklace will be about a 17-inch or so with an extender. So some of this is going to have to be cut off, but the basic look of it will be this. I'm going to use this rope right in the middle. Then this necklace came in parts. This lobster clasp is going to come off, and this will be like right up next to each other and attached to each other. These two chains will be. That was one side, and this was the other side. And I suppose in their former life, these pieces of chain, you know, had a pendant between them, which it'll have another similar life. So those are going to go together like that up to the ends of this thicker chain. It's only about, I don't know, 12 or 13 inches, which is not long enough at all to be a good necklace. So that's why, that's the first reason I thought of attaching another chain to it. But then once I laid it out next to it, I just really like the thick, plushy look of the two chains together. But that's going to be it. Then this will be a brooch right in the middle. Something like that. And then these little charms that came off that bracelet from Aimee are going to go up the side right here, 3 on each side. And there are more of these charms from that bracelet that will be turned into other things. But that's the basic look, and we'll see how I'm able to execute that as we go. So moving everything out, right? Well, not everything, but I am going to move this chain out. I'm going to measure it on my board and clip it where it needs to be clipped, and then I'll be right back. I would film that part, but I don't really have a way to do that. My tripod for my phone won't face all the way down, so I have to use the top of my light box to face it down, and then that tray won't fit in my light box. So I'm going to come off camera for a minute just so that I can lay out this chain, measure how much of it I need to cut off, and then I'll bring everything back in here and hopefully be able to start putting it together. Okay, I have it trimmed, and I just put this ring on the end of where I trimmed it just to keep everything nice and straight. But there it is. It's just under 18 inches. And then, not that it really matters, I guess, because I'm not going to be using it. But here's the leftover chain. I guess this may eventually become a bracelet or something like that. So that's aside for another project. Now what I'm going to do is take this that I just cut off. I'm going to lay it back on the board again, so because it has measuring marks on it, so I can measure exactly the right placement. I had to go answer a call, but what I was saying is I'm going to lay this out on the on that layout board just so I can see exactly where to place this chain alongside this chain, and then go ahead and I'll have to attach one end of it at first. That the focus is going crazy. Sorry about that. I'll have to attach one end of this heavier chain to the rope, and then off camera, just so I'll make sure I have it in the right place, and then I'll attach the rest of it, right here in the light box, and then I'll do the same thing for this side, and then the pendant will come close to the end because I want to have some time to put the sealant, like I said, over this over the marker that's on here. And I'm still considering taking these stones out and cleaning them and then putting them back in. So I'm debating that. So we'll answer that question later. But right now, I'm going to go lay this out on the board, find the placement for this chain alongside this chain, and get each end already attached. And then I'll come back to the light box to attach the rest of it all the way down. One thing I didn't consider is that I'm going to have to take these off before I get started with that. Take off this extender and then the clasp on the other one. This ring actually that I'm opening up right here will probably, maybe, I guess, be the ring that I use to attach this to the rope chain. It's wanting to fall out of the pliers, so it's fighting me, but hopefully I'll win the fight. We'll see. I'll leave that ring on there. And then now take the clasp off of this one. I've been considering doing a craft with me for my ceramics. Get back in the studio over there and film the process of making something. I have some very interesting pieces going, and it just dawned on me today that I haven't been documenting the process for those. Well, I'm going over here to the layout board now, and I'll be right back. Delayed again on attaching that chain. I decided to take the back off of this brooch so it won't be able to be convertible. And the reason I decided to is because I don't think I'll be able to treat this pendant the way I want to, as far as just taking care of it and cleaning it up and everything. It's already been cleaned once, but it just needs some more attention, and I won't be able to get to all of the little places back here that I want to get to with that in the way. So I cut it off. I'd already cut off one side of it before I turned the camera back on, but you just saw me cut off the other side, and that left these two little sharp edges, like right there and right there. So I'm going to file those down. That's very boring and monotonous, so I won't film that part, but I'm going to take my metal file and file down those two little sharp edges, and then this is going to be the pendant. Here I am the next day, actually, and I did my nails, and you can see it's fresh because I still have my, where I got outside the lines, still to wear off. I don't really pay attention to getting that off. At the time I do my nails, I just wait for it to wear off. I know that's probably kind of lazy, but that's just how I do it. Anyway, I've already opened a lot of just small jump rings for the next step. Off camera, where I left things yesterday, is that I was attaching the thicker chain onto the narrow rope chain. I attached it at the top end and at the bottom end, and then I'm going to show the process of attaching them like along the way, like along the length, so that it will like kind of stay together like that when it's worn. So if it goes smoothly, I'll keep you along for the ride for that whole process. But if it tends to take a while and get monotonous, then I'll just show you some of them and then do the rest off camera. So I've already counted up, and every third link is where I'm going to attach one of these rings. Every third one of the larger links here, I'll attach one of these smaller rings. So let's see, it's through this first one here. So then 1, 2, 3, the third one here, and I'm just going to match up. Not really anything mathematical to it, and hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me later. But here's the third link, and I'm just going to match up a rope link that's close to that, and just work this jump ring into that link, and then hopefully it won't take too much time to get that in there. It kind of took some time yesterday. That's why I didn't come back to recording last night. Okay, I've got this first ring in here. I got it partially in, but it doesn't want to continue threading through. Okay, there it is. So I got it through there. Now I have to keep it from falling out while I get it through this 1, 2, 3, this third link of the larger chain. I don't think I need my pliers in hand to do that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Well, hold on a minute. Was that my third link? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So the first one's attached. Well, almost attached. I still have to close the ring. These rings are really small, so it's going to present a little bit of difficulty as far as working with them, but I chose small ones because I don't want them to be really obvious. I don't want them to take away from the look of the two chains together. And hopefully, I'm not able to look at the screen while I'm doing this, so hopefully I'm getting you a good shot and it's in focus. Let's see. So that's closed. I'm going to lay it out and see how that first one looks before I keep going. It was kind of frustrating doing this last night because I got part of it attached and then realized I attached it in the wrong place and had to start over. So that's part of what made it take so long. So far, so good. Okay, let's go for the next one. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to start right about here. It's really challenging. Well, that one wasn't too much of a challenge. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I haven't ever seen a design like this, so it's not like I have something I can go by. I don't even know if it's going to work out. A lot of what I have learned through this jewelry upcycling adventure that I'm on is just trial and error. And a lot of times, if I'm being truthful, there's a lot more error than I would like, but you know, it's all an adventure. Okay, so next one, maybe I'll just do all of them on this side on camera and then do the other side off camera. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So we'll go right here with this one. Well, that one went through 2 links, but if I want to make sure the finished product looks nice, I found it through experience that it's better to keep everything uniform and do everything the same way. So all the rings I already have on are only through 1 link, one of these rope links. So it might lay differently if I put one through 2 links. And I don't want to run the risk of having to do it over again. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm way off. I'm up there at like 5 links after I worked so hard to get that ring in there. So let's get this one back out. And try again. 1, 2, 3, right here. Well, I lost my place. There we go. I think that's how I lose my place, is this rope. You can't just like put your eyes on a link and just know you're looking at the same link the whole time, because it kind of tends to roll and then you lose your place. Okay, I've got it started here. It's kind of challenging getting it in between these rope links, the way they're attached to each other. They don't leave much space in between. Okay, perfect. Did I count correctly this time? See, there's that one. 1, 2, 3. Oh, good, it lines up with the third one. Okay, hopefully you can see all of this, and I'm not way off outside the shot. And hopefully my hands aren't blocking everything. Okay, here we go. All right, got my next ring on there, so let's take a look. So it's kind of twisting around itself, or twisting around the, I don't know, do I like that? No, I don't like that. So I might have to undo this one at the end just to allow it to roll and not have the finished product twisted up. Okay, how's that looking? I'm kind of liking that. That's the part where I've already worked. So on to the next one. Okay, let's see what we have. 1, 2, 3. There's the third one right there. Right here. So I'm going to match it up right here through, well, all it takes is my eye getting off the chosen rope link just for a second, and then I've got to find it again. Right here. Maybe I should have some way of marking my link. Okay. It's really small space. Okay, that one went in nicely. Okay, and here's the link I'm working with. Okay. It was hard to see from inside the box. I had to get the pliers onto that ring. Okay, there we go. Now, this might be the last ring that I'm about to put on this side anyway. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is the last one. So I'm going to match it up right about here. Okay. I'm sorry I go quiet. I just start concentrating on trying to get this ring in here and forget that you're sitting here too, sort of. Okay. Well, you can hear that siren passing by. You might hear the dogs begin to howl in just a minute. They like to sing along when they hear a siren. Okay, perfect. Is it in the right place? 1, 2, 3. Oh, it is. Good. Okay. I did my nails not too long ago, and they are hardened enough that I don't have to treat them like they're wet, but they're still soft, so. Okay. Let's see if I can do this while I'm still right here in the light box. So I don't have to leave you with a, a blank, quiet screen. Okay. Closing up the last ring on this side. Okay, there we go. It looks like I have one side done. And I'm pleased with it except for one ring just kind of hangs awkwardly, and that's this one right here. So I'm going to take it off and see if I can get it to lay better. So I'm going to do that off camera and I'll be right back. So that took a while. Here we are. There's the heavier brooch or heavier chain attached to the rope chain, and it attached quite nicely. It took some time, and because this one wanted to twist, and then the rope chain wanted to twist, and so after I got it on there, it just didn't look right, and I had to keep taking it off and reattaching it until I got it to lay the way that I wanted it to lay. So there we go. And then I'm going to, next steps are to wire up these and get them ready to attach to the chain. And if you remember from the beginning, there's going to be 3 on each side like this, and then the brooch will go in the center. And one thing you might notice, I don't know if it'll come across as much on camera as it would in person, but these are all different tones of gold, but everything, not literal gold, but these are all different gold tones. And this brooch is what I would call very vintage. Actually, I've decided to leave the stones in place rather than take them out and clean them and put them back, because raising the prongs to clean the back of the stones will actually, it has a high likelihood of causing damage to the front of the stones, which would look far worse than some age showing through on the back of the stones. So I'm going to leave them like they are. I'll clean them on the outside because I can do that, of course, without having to remove them from their prongs. So I'm going to clean them on the outside and then put some sealant on. Oh, and I filed down where I took the pin off yesterday. Filed that, smoothed it out with a metal file, and then touched up the gold tone with my fancy jewelry tools. And so I'm going to put some sealant over it to help protect that. I'm going to clean the front side of the stones, and then later on we'll attach that. I'll show you how I wire one of these, and then I'll wire the rest of them off camera, and then we'll attach them all on there, and then see what the finished product looks like. So I'm about to wire these up to hang from the chain. Remember, these were a bracelet in their first life, side by side like that, and they were attached to elastic by threading it through these little holes on one side and then out the other side, and then the next one beside it, and so on and so on. So that's how it was a bracelet in its first life. But here's how I'm going to get them ready to hang from this necklace. I'll put a wire through one side and out the other, and these are head pins like so. And then just bend it over and snip off the excess. And then I'll make a loop. Let's see, I'm going to turn it this way so the loop closes on the back. Well, it's wanting to spin around on me. I certainly don't want it doing that on the necklace, so we'll have to see. So at this little hook, and how it's going to attach is, directly onto the links like that, and then I'll close the links. But first all I'm going to do is wire them and make these loops not closed entirely. I might put the loops directly onto the chain, or I might close the loops and then use a ring to attach them. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do that. And I know I said moments ago that I would just show you how I wire one and then do the rest off camera, but this really isn't a super slow process, so I'll just go ahead and wire these up right here before your eyes. There are only 6 of these. And then, well, there's more of the little flowers, but there's only 6 that I'm putting on this this necklace. See, that one has something on it. Let's swap that out. So if I have 2 of these left over, I might make those into a pair of earrings. Okay, there we go. And I don't really have a way of measuring. I'm sure there is a way, but I'm not really measuring how much of that I cut off. I'm just sort of, I don't know if they say this phrase everywhere, but here in the South, they use the phrase eyeballing. I'm just eyeballing it, and that just means I'm just sort of guesstimating. This will have sort of a artisan look, sort of a, I don't know. I shy away from saying boho because it's not really what you would think of when you think boho, I guess. But it's going to have sort of an eclectic look to it. A general overall vintage feel. But I don't know. With all the tones looking different, but it's sort of fancy also. Maybe it's more in line with Steph Styles' definition of shabby luxe, I guess. If you're watching this, Steph, let me know if this fits the the shabby luxe description. Steph invented that term as far as I know. And I think she actually has, what in the world? There's something on the back of that. I think she actually has a website, or maybe not yet. I think she owns the domain name, Shabby Luxe, and I think she's planning on doing something with that at some point. I've heard her say that on a video, so very interested in seeing what comes of that. I think this is the last one. It is the last one for the necklace. Okay, so I'll save a couple of those out and see if I have a couple of these left that are still good. Oh, I do. Okay, those are both good. They both have their stones. And here's a head pin. And I have a new tool that I'm going to, oh, and this one's got the the mark on it. That was a loft bracelet. Okay. Let's see. So my new tool that I'm about to show you is this loop tool right here. So let's see if I can make this into an earring. I haven't used this yet, even off camera, so, well, how did that turn out square? Oh, because, okay, it's, can you tell it's sort of flat on this side? So I guess if I want it to be rounded, I need to take it around the other side. but I already have that sort of squarish bend in it. I might have to come back and try this later. I don't know, it could be square. You could still wear it square. But then that's going to move oddly. I don't know. I'll come back to that later. Because you're here for this necklace. So let's get back to it. Okay, I'm not going to put these on yet because I want to put the brooch on first. So I'm going to go put the sealant on that, and I'll be back after the sealant has dried and we'll put it all together. So here we are, a very light coat of sealant on that, and now it's ready to go onto the necklace. But I did decide to do the earrings because I thought about it and thought up a different way that might work. So let's get all this out of the way. Here's my little earring project. So I'm going to thread the head pin through one of these flowers. This little logo thing is kind of getting in the way. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So to not make it square, I have to fold the wire over one of these rounded sides. So I'm going to do that right here. And there we go. And then I don't want the earring to, do this and spin around. I want it to face front. So I'm going to put it down and put a dab of glue, just this kind, right here on the back near the bottom. And then I'll just leave that to set up, and then the earring will be ready. So I'll go ahead and make the mate to it. And this is the same glue that I used to, if you remember earlier in the video, I talked about the repair I made right here, where I just used some gel glue to bridge a gap. There was actually a gap in the gold tone over here, right here. I just kept adding little bits and little bits of glue, and it's this gel super glue. And I just kept building up on that little by little and letting it set and harden in between coats. And that's how I bridged that gap. Okay. And here is this earring. Bent into a perfect little curve right there. And a dab of glue on this one also. And then we'll put it aside while we finish up the necklace. Okay, we'll come back to these earrings later. Okay. Oh, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, and I'm not recommending any, just any super glue, gel type super glue will do. Okay, and I think I've decided that I'm going to use rings to attach these. So I'll need 6. There we go. And I'll need to open let's see, well first I'm going to need to close all of these loops that I made earlier. And you know, something just occurred to me. These guys are going to want to spin around also. So I think I'm going to need to put a dab of super glue on the back of each one of these as well, because I don't want it spinning around when the necklace is worn. So I'll close these loops, then I'll put a dab of super glue on the back of each one. Actually, this one's a little bit longer than the rest. I clipped that one off a little longer than the others. There. Okay, that's better, but it's kind of sideways now, so let me straighten that up. Okay, that's good. Oops, wrong one. So when all of these are closed, I'll go back and put a dab of glue on the back of each one, and then let those sit while I attach the pendant in the middle. This is going to have sort of that lushy plushy type of look to it. Okay, set these all aside because I don't need those yet. And I'm going to go off camera to put a dab of glue on the back. Well, I don't have to go off camera to do that. See, I do want all of the rings oriented in the same direction though, and that is this way. And it matters whether they're oriented this way or this way. So when I'm oriented this way, so that the jump ring that holds it onto the necklace will be oriented this way. And then that'll help it lay in the direction that I want it to lay. So all of that matters. Okay, you gotta fix this one. It turned a little bit. All right, where did I, oh, there it is. A little dab of glue on the back of each one, just tiny. I don't have to really use a whole lot because this isn't really attaching anything to hold it together. This is just to keep the wire from being able to, or keep the bead from being able to spin on the wire. So these little drops will all hang in the same direction when someone's wearing the necklace. Okay, let me go over each one more time. Now I don't know how this glue would do in an ultrasonic, so whoever eventually ends up with this necklace will need to make sure you just clean it carefully by hand. Okay, I actually should have done that off camera so that I wouldn't have to handle these after the glue got on them. I don't want to risk those wires moving at all now that I have the glue on them. but it does start to dry pretty quickly, so there. Okay. So let's get these out of the way, although I might be needing them for the pendant. Let's see what's the best way to attach that. I was thinking like this. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I was thinking like this, and then just put jump rings through right there and right there. And then maybe see if I can work in a ring somehow near the top. No, actually, I don't think that would look good. I think just right here on the sides is the best way. And that way the flower will go a little bit above the line of the chain. Let's see, you'll be able to see that back chain between. You know, actually I'm thinking I might cut the rope chain and put rings through the ends of it. Let's see how that would work. Maybe cut it right there and right there. But then these edges are kind of delicate, and they would be responsible for holding the entire front of the necklace together, and I'm not sure it's strong enough to do that. So it might be better just to accept that the rope chain is going to just show, and it does kind of match this sort of rope look around the edges of the flower. Let's see, I could do something like that, and then put rings coming down. Like this. No, I don't think that would look right. So we'll go with this. I'm going to put it through these two petals, and we'll see how that does. So are these rings going to be big enough? There's one way to find out. I'll have to open it up and just try it and see. Okay. I might end up with this just looking like an entire hodgepodge. We'll try it on Ethel when I'm all done and see how it looks on her. So these rings are big enough to fit the edge of the brooch through it, like the edge of the flower petals, and then also through the link on the chain, on the thicker chain. And that's what I want, is the smallest ring that will go through both. because I don't want to have a large ring just kind of sitting there looking weird. So let's see what I've got here. The rope chain is starting to look a little twisted, which sounds odd because it's a rope chain. It's supposed to be twisted, but I think it's because of the direction it was laying when I attached it to the flower. Let me take this side off and see if I can fix that. Okay. And looks straight now. It's really hard to fit my hand inside this light box with my tools and come hit it with from the right direction. Let's see. Okay, that looks better. I'm going to take this out of the light box for just a minute so I can look at it where I have more room on the table. Okay, I'm back. I got it figured out. What was going on is that this ring that attaches the thicker chain, this little ring right here, was too far back and twisted. So it just wouldn't lay right. So I got that fixed, and then I thought these rings at the top right here, I just now put on just before I turn the camera back on, they're even smaller. Like here are the ones that I've been using to attach the two chains together. These two at the top of the flower are this size. They're tiny. So I decided that would give it a little more stability, I guess. And so that's why I decided to go with those. So I'm going to use these smaller ones, or stability to the top of the flower, that is, to keep it from flopping around in a weird direction. So I'm getting 6 more of these tiny ones, tiny rings right here, to attach the, let's zoom back out a little bit, to attach these little flowers, because that glue has set now and is hardened enough, I think. Now I need these to go at regular intervals. And I had it measured on the board. Let's see. I need to go ahead and do that again. I'll have to do that off camera just because the board won't fit in here. So let me measure where the first bead is going to go, and I'll be right back. Wow, that took a lot longer than I expected, but it took longer because I had to keep it on the design board in order to be able to measure these out at an even distance apart, so there would be some symmetry. Now, they're not going to be entirely symmetrical because the distance isn't going to stay the same because of the length, of each link. They can move along their individual lengths, but they are about 1 inch apart. They're hung at even intervals from each other, and so that's the look right there. The last thing to do now is to put on the clasp. I want a bigger clasp than the one that's on this rope chain. So this is the one that came off of the thicker chain. So I'm going to put it on, and then this extender I think originally maybe came off of this chain originally. I'm not sure. So I need to find a ring that I can use to put this on. Actually, I'm just going to use the one that's already on here for the spring ring. I thought it wouldn't be big enough, but I believe it will be. So I'm just going to open that up and then take the spring ring off and replace it with the lobster clasp. I'll check that in just a minute to make sure it's hanging in the right direction. And I'll explain what that means. Of course, I'll save this for another project later. This was just on the end to, I guess just to help me remember that it was the, not the end that the closure goes on. Okay, I'll need a ring for sure to put the extender on with. And we'll take a first look at it in just a second, and then either I or Ethel will model it for you. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it around and make sure, see, as you're wearing it, the clasp should be on the right, and it should be facing so that the lever, which this one is backwards, the lever should be to the outside. So I'm going to have to actually take this off. Well, let me make sure it's not twisted first. Oh, it was twisted. I'm glad I checked that. Okay. So you want the lever on the outside and the lobster on the right. And that's so that when you're putting it on, it's just easier, you know, behind your neck where you can't see. So let's give you a first peek right here. And we'll zoom out. And there it is. I am very pleased with that. Took a long time and gave me a few headaches along the way, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out. These turned out nicely too. And I'm going to send these to Aimee because she has that just simplistic style, that sort of understated, less is more kind of style. So I'm going to send these to her as a thank you for the craft lot that these came in. And I'll be showing you that craft lot actually in another video and hopefully be able to make some things with it, of which these will be the first. So if you're watching Aimee, these are going to be yours. Aimee at Ultrasound Wanderer. Make sure you go check her channel out if you haven't already. She's relatively new on YouTube, and she's a reseller and she does unboxings, and you'll really enjoy her channel. So here we are, and the next shot you see will be either me or Ethel, I don't know, or both of us maybe, I don't know, modeling the necklace. Here it is on Ethel. I have Ethel in front of a big window, but it's sort of cloudy today, so the stones look kind of dark. You can't really see the deep red color as well in this shot as it looks in person, but it is a deep garnet red, and that is how it looks. Get in the comments and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the content, please give me a thumbs up. subscribe if you haven't already, and as I said, leave me a comment and share this with someone else who you think might also enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!